Hi, Sean Green here from SoccerCoachTV. And I'm excited about the guest I got today because not only is he a fantastic person, he's one of my best friends, I'm glad to say. TJ Kostecki in the house today. TJ, good morning. How's things in New York?
Sean Green, it's a pleasure to be here. Delightful. Things in New York are fantastic here in Tivoli. Thank you.
Hey, I just heard on the news. I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a kid. Did you hear about the kidnapping in New York while he was homeschooling?
No, I didn't.
It's okay. He woke up. Get in. I got a few more of those jokes coming your way, son. So listen. First thing I want to say to the viewers who are watching this is TJ is an amazing guy, and I'll tell you how I got to know TJ in a second. But we become very, 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 very close friends. When I was going through a tough time in my life, I was having a real problem. I was down. I was going through these personal challenges. And one night I was home. I was shit-faced, and TJ I'd known because he was a coach of one of my opposing teams for many years, for 2 decades, so I played against him. And I reached out to TJ and called him. We'd never really had an intimate relationship, and he was really took my call, and we chatted, and we've become just really tight brothers since that. He's helped me, and I'll tell you why. TJ Kostecki, he is a pioneer. He has a program called Vision Training for Life. And it's a program, it's a developmental program that empowers you to discover the true potential, your true potential. And you'll see why when you hear him talk. He's absolutely amazing. He's spent 30 years in the academic arena, different universities. He's coached many soccer teams. Recently, he is now the head coach at Bard College in Long Island University. Before then, he was at LIU. At LIU, he won 3 championships, named the Northeast Conference Coach of the Year several times, really turned that program around. I will tell you, and before then, he was at Pfeiffer College.
Before it was
Appalachian State. Your Appalachian State down there in North Carolina. And that program was woeful before you took it over. You really turned that program around. And before then at Pfeiffer College in North Carolina also, correct? And then at New Jersey Institute of Technology. Yes. So you've been in this college game for, what, 30 years?
This is my 32nd season, correct.
What a rookie, huh? 30 was 35 for me, so you're a rookie there. But did a great job. When he was at LIU, they won many championships, and not just on the field, but academically, TJ, your team succeeded. I think, if I remember correctly, there was 2 occasions when your team was actually #1 in the country, academically. And you were ahead of Harvard, Yale, and Dartmouth, and all these schools. So that's outstanding to do both of those things there. But now you're at Bard College, and I know your passion is to impact on people's lives. So the first thing I'd like can you tell us a little bit about what Vision Training for Life really means?
Great, thank you. Thank you for that introduction, by the way. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm so excited to be here and to be sharing this conversation with a wonderful and amazing friend and a human being like yourself. So thank you for inviting me on here, and I'm grateful to you. I want to let you know that. So Vision Training for Life is a leadership and life workshop, and it's a developmental program, as you just mentioned, to help you find the best qualities within your own being as a person. And the workshop is something that I do for teams, for sports teams, for clubs, organizations, for companies, for universities. After we're finished here, I'm actually going to do a Zoom workshop for a team later today, helping them in their journey and their progress. And what I talk about in the workshop is having you think about qualities that are important, that really make you stand out, and how to be transformational. One in work, naturally, in your job, whether you're mentoring employees, whether you're a boss or you are someone who's working within a company, how to mentor people and how to be transformational in school, how to be transformational on a football team as a player, in a family setting, as you are and as I am, because we're both people that have family, we have children, naturally. And how do you, around the world, can be transformational in your neighborhood, just even walking around your neighborhood and seeing people, and what are the gifts that you have as a person, and how do you get those gifts to share them with others and really change and make a difference and make a meaningful difference in everyone's life. That's what the workshop, we talk about in the workshop.
And you've traveled all around the world as a speaker, and also, I mean, you talk with corporations, you talk with professional teams, you've worked with, actually, which U.S. national team players have you worked with in the past?
Players I've worked with, probably the one that made a big difference in our game was Claudio Reyna. When Claudio was former captain in the U.S. national team, as you know, and a tremendous player. And he's now the sporting director at the new Austin MLS team. I've had the pleasure of doing that, of working with him, and traveling around in different countries, in Ukraine and Norway, Costa Rica, Guatemala, working with pro clubs and youth clubs and international organizations as well. In Ukraine, I met with the president of the Ukrainian Football Federation, and I did a leadership in a soccer workshop with their top club team called the Zilka Football Club. Zilka means star in Ukrainian, which is their top developmental team, about 5 years ago during the revolution. So it's been a pleasure and a gift and a privilege to share this message. And the message is a message that resonates worldwide, globally, and also naturally in this country, which I've been doing primarily in the workshops here in America.
You know, the teams I've had in the past, I can give a player an armband, but I can't make him captain. So the question is to you is, I mean, leadership. What do you feel the qualities are of a true leader?
Thank you. Great question. I think there's several. There's not just one quality, but it starts with me with integrity. Integrity and ethics are number one. I always lead with integrity and ethics. And there's a quote I love. It says, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. People, right?
It's true. Love that.
Because people look up to you. They look up to you as a leader, as a father, as a friend, as a mentor, as a business owner, as a club president, as a professor, as a teacher, as a homeowner, homemaker, whoever you are. People look up to you, and they copy you, and they follow you, and they model you. So we strive to do the right thing every time. Then others are following us, and they're going to copy us. So it starts with me with integrity. And I don't mean being perfect, because there's no such thing as perfection, of course, but striving to have integrity and ethics. That's one of the things. A leader has to have vision. They have to have vision. They have to have perception. They have to innovate, and they have to be persistent. So having that vision and thinking outside the box, or more so creating your own box, not just thinking outside the box, but making your own box. So a transformational leader has two of those qualities.
So I know we've talked, because we've had many discussions on a million different things, but talk to our audience a little bit about, because I love it, about the 5 P's in leadership. Can you do that?
I'd love to. Thank you. So the 5 P's of vision training for life are perceive, process, plan, perform, and persist. I'll go one more time. Perceive, process, plan, perform, and persist. The most important one is the first, perception, and last, persistence. With perception, make sure your perception is wide and bright and deep. So here in my apartment, I'm looking around, scanning 360 degrees. So it's wide and it's bright and it's deep.
So to answer, why can two people see the same thing and think differently? Their perceptions are different.
Wonderful, wonderful. Why? Because one of the reasons why, there's several reasons. One is education. We're a product of our education. We're a product of experience. You and I have shared stories. We shared stories about our hard work that we did before we got on this call, in terms of you working in a shipyard and me working in a sand and stone quarry. So working in a shipyard, working in a sand and stone quarry, my toughest job as a young man really framed my perspective. So part of it is our perspective, our life perspective that gets us to look at things in one way. And the second part is education, is how are we nourishing our brain? How are we nourishing our mind? And what are we doing? What are we putting in to learn?
So basically, you're saying that people are prisoners to their own experience, or not?
Well, no, not just a one experience. We have our one experience, but how are we going to take that experience and how are we going to learn and how are we going to add to that experience?
That's it.
Okay. For example, you're Soccer Coach TV. You have videos. You have so much content and information on there that globally people go to it, and what they lack, they're learning from you. They're picking up from you. So what they lack anywhere they are around the world, what we lack, what I lack, I'm learning from you. You follow me? And that's one piece. And the other piece is actually doing it, is being a part of it. And as we do, that's the best way of learning, of course.
So perception, number one. Okay. I do want to ask a quick question about it before we move on to the other four. But is vision, when we talk in the general sense of vision, is it an optical thing or a mental thing?
It's both. In my what we're discussing, it's a mental thing, but it is both. So one is the looking, it's a glancing around to make sure that you're not tunnel and you're not walking around with blinders in your world, in your life. So it is one, making sure that your head is physically on a swivel, but also to make sure that you're gathering information. What are you looking at and what are you gathering information? What is that information? So in the context that we're going to discuss primarily, that I'm discussing, it's mental, it's what are you seeing and how are you processing what you're seeing.
Right.
So for example, when I was a young boy at 12 years old, I had an unfortunate accident. My best mate we're building a fort and the nail broke off and hit me in the pupil and cut my eye and damaged my eye severely. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks as a 12-year-old boy, and they were going to take my eye out. My father took me out of the hospital and brought me to New York and Manhattan Eye&E, and they saved my eye. So my lens and this eye has never recovered fully.
Oh God.
So I had to see through just one eye. Are you tracking? You follow me?
Yeah.
So because I only had one eye that was stronger than the other, my perception, you're tracking?
Right.
How I looked at things were a little bit more special, perhaps, than when I had those two eyes, a little bit different. So that affected my mental piece of how I look at things.
Wow. And number two?
Planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how important is preparation to be successful in life?
Incredibly important. Incredibly. You have to prepare, you have to have a plan, you have to know where you're going. And that's part of vision and innovation. If you just have ideas and they're scattered all over and you don't have a plan of action to follow, you could deviate if you have to deviate, but you got to know where you're going. You have to know where you're going. It's an essential part of it. Yes.
Well, it's interesting because one of my things is how we perceive time. And that really directs to your point right there about planning. And I shared this with you that I did suffer a massive heart attack and actually died flatlined, and my perception of time totally changed after that. And to the point where when I went to the gas station to fill up my car with gas, I would never fill a tank up all the way. I'd always fill it up halfway. And that was a metaphor for me I didn't want to presume I was going to be around long enough to use a full tank of gas. And so when you plan your life, or when you plan your career, you plan all these different things, you always we plan it with the assumption we're going to live till we're 80 years of age. And so there's always, okay, someday I'll do this, someday I'll do that, and I'll put that off. And so my perception of time is probably different from a lot of different people. I mean, it's the one quality which is the most important quality. But so how do you get around that? How do you get around that when you're planning your future?
So we're on the same page there with the time. I feel and I believe the same thing. To me, the most important commodity we have is time. It's not money, it's not power, it's not all these things that we collect. It's time, because it's limited, right? And for me, the most important moment in lives. And I talk about this in leadership training. I ask people about important moments in their lives. What was the most important in their life? What is the most important in their life? Does it change if I ask you what is? And my answer when folks in my workshop ask me, I say, well, it's this moment right here, right now with Sean Green,
right,
is the most important moment in my life. With your viewers around the world, they're listening. This, for me, has become the most important moment of my life. And I realized that as well through having unexpected heart double bypass operation when I was 44 years old, that time slowed down. And it became, when I realized it became the most important moment, it became richer. So this time with us is so much richer because I'm recognizing that it will not last forever.
And that's one thing I admire about you, TJ, and I've always felt this when we've had conversations, whether it be in person or whether it be, on the phone or Skyping each other and stuff. You always make me feel that this is the most important, that I'm important to you, and that we talked about this last night. And the pet peeve of mine is that these people that you have in your life, right? There's people, and I'm sure viewers who are watching this can relate to it. There's always these people who you engage in and you talk to them and you say, how's your family doing? What's going on? How's work doing? And you ask them questions and they never ask you any questions back. It's all one way. They just absorb it in, but they never ask you how you're doing or what's going on with you or is everything okay? And it's a pet peeve of mine. And it's asking questions, I think, is a very important part of being a person. And you do that. You're always sincere. When I've seen you interact with people, you're always sincere. You're engaged.
Thank you. Well, it comes with caring. The human element is we care, and we realize we're vulnerable. You and I we've been gifted and blessed by having amazing careers, and the longevity at Central Connecticut State. The people that you've mentored, the lives that you've changed. We're very grateful for that. But we're also, we're humble. And we recognize our weaknesses and our faults, and we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable. As you opened up and said, you were struggling, you reached out to me. I struggle every day. I still learn to try to be better what I am every day. And when we're like that, we realize that we care and we show we want to learn, and I care about you. And
at night when we talked, that night when I was really at my lowest point, and we had that first really intimate conversation about life and all kinds of stuff. And I always remember what you told me that night about every morning when you wake up is to 3 things that you're grateful for the day before. What were the 3 things from the day before that you can think about in a positive way and what you feel blessed for? I feel blessed for my boys. I've got 3 great kids. I've got a beautiful girlfriend. I feel blessed that I've had being able to do what I do every single day. It's like getting paid to eat ice cream. I'm in my dream job, and I love what I'm doing. And I do that quite often, not every day, but I do that quite often. And I appreciate you sharing that technique with me. It's great.
And that is one of the most powerful, if anything that your viewers take away today, and hopefully they'll take something away, but is having a gratefulness. Is you determine, you're in charge of your own happiness. The way the brain works, the brain is like the body. What you put in your body, you put in good things, your body will respond, right? You put in good ideas in your brain, you put in bad ideas, they stick. So you have the ability to rewire your brain. And every morning, what I do, and what Sean's just describing, and leadership training, I talk about this very intentionally, and I do this with my team. I Skype with my Zoom, with my team every Friday, and we start off our Zoom meeting with, tell me one thing you're most grateful for this week that happened to you. Everybody shares. So I have 18 players, and the first thing these 18 to 22-year-old guys are saying about what they're most grateful for. So right away, their happiness quotient goes up so high. High. Yeah. So when I wake up tomorrow morning, I already know what I'm going to be most grateful for, and it's going to be you. I already know that. So I know tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to have an unbelievable day because I've decided on it.
So we talked about the first 2. Let's continue down those 5 P's.
Okay. So first is perception.
Yeah.
Wide. All right. Open. So part of perception is judge less, accept more, because we tend to be like this. No, judge, accept more, be open for information. You follow me?
Yeah.
Perception, plan what you're perceiving.
Yeah.
See, plan, perform, perceive, plan, perform, right?
Yeah.
What is it that, that you're looking at, right? And then, it's, as you're doing that, it's, what are those things that you're seeing that you're performing, right? Now it's time to execute it, right? And then of course, as we move forward, we're
gotta process it, right?
We got to process it. We got to process. What are we processing? What are we looking at, right? Processing. And the last piece is persistence. Persistence is the habit loop. When you're persistent about something, it becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it. When you're persistent about being perceptive, you're consistently learning and you're growing and you're moving forward in life.
Yep.
That's the 5 P's and how you apply that every day.
So what's the first thing you look for when you've just met somebody new? Okay, you've just been introduced to somebody. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, correct?
Yeah.
What do you look for straight away when you meet somebody?
Wonderful question. Thank you. If you remember last week when you introduced me to your son, what I did is, thank you for doing that, by the way, is you mentioned to me that he was a musician, right? And do you remember what I did when he mentioned that, what I started doing?
Asking questions. Right?
I started asking questions.
Yeah.
And I started asking him meaningful questions.
Yeah.
And I was persistent about that. At first, he's like looking, because you were very kind to introduce me. This is a close friend of yours. And so I started asking him questions about what kind of music, and he mentioned the kind of music that he plays, which was really cool. And then I started finding ways of connecting with him in a meaningful way. And I shared that 2 of my best friends are in the music industry, very successful.
Right.
One was Jay-Z's CFO, and my other friend has this very popular program on TV, Front and Center, that's a national program. And, as he gets his music, to share it with me, all right?
Yeah.
And I did that because I care about him. That's transformation. It wasn't a transaction. I'm doing this for you. You do something for me. You follow me?
Right.
Because we tend to be transactional. I do this, Sean, you do this. Okay, who wins, who gains? Yeah. How can we be transformational and connect in a meaningful way where we both gain and we both succeed? That's what I'm consistently trying to do when I meet people and learn.
Let me ask a question, because this is a topic that I love. Okay, that we're going to talk about in a second. But in fact, I started writing a book on this. I hope to finish it this year. But as coaches, okay, our mantra pretty much is we people think we teach life lessons through sport, right? That's why a lot of parents sign up kids in every different sport, because the lessons that they learn in sport will transfer into life.
Yes.
The longer I've been in coaching, the more I question that. And hear me out. And it's that I know in my tough times, okay, when I'd suffered some illnesses or I've had some problems, I've never thought, man, I remember that game when we were down 2-1 and we came back and we won 3-2, or that training session was so hard, it's going to help me out in this situation. And so, yeah, there are characteristics, but I don't think there's as many lessons as we would like to believe. And so, but I do believe this, and I believe it more and more each day, is that I believe the true winners, when we talk about sports, are the losers. And I'll tell you why. Because I've learned more about myself in my tough times than I have in the good times. I've learned more about my relationships with people, friends, and acquaintances, when I've needed them, when I've really had a tough time, than when we're sitting around the bar having a beer, And I think those lessons stay with you much longer in life. Look, there's a multitude of sins, hidden victories, right? You just move on to the next one. It's kind of bleeding. But when you lose, you dissect it. You know, you go by bit. So the question I'm going to pose to you now, TJ, contemplate on: are there more lessons in losing than winning?
So my immediate answer would be yes. There are certainly lessons in winning. We know the winning lessons are easy ones. What I did made sense and it got me the result, right? So we know that part, and I'm I feel right about what I did. The part about learning from losing is crucial. We had at LIU, I had a student in my philosophy of coaching class, started 20 years ago, Richard James, who ended up being our strength and conditioning coach. He was a track runner, gold medalist in the 2004 Summer Games in Athens, wow. Sprinter.
Wow.
We had no track, by the way, at LIU.
Yeah.
Okay? And this guy's a gold medalist. He came back, he was our strength and conditioning coach. And he used to say, you either win or you learn.
Wow. Love it. Love that. I'm going to steal that one.
You win or you learn. You don't lose. You win or you learn. And he wasn't BSing. He wasn't trying to make us feel good. He goes, you win or you learn. What did you learn? What did you learn? How'd you learn? So I've done plenty of losing in my career. You know, we both won championships. You've gone to the suites. You've had tremendous successful teams. I've had some pretty good ones myself, but we've lost plenty of games. So what did you learn? And that learning is completely spot on. And you learn so much. I mean, you learn, what do you learn? You learn about yourself. You learn to reevaluate. You learn as a manager of how are players responding to losing. Who's a fighter? Who do you want to bring to the war with you? Come on, we're gonna go fight. And who's gonna disappear on you? Who's gonna support you? Who's gonna care for you, even though when things are down? And those are the ones you want to go to war with. So, yeah, I mean, it's true.
Yeah, and it's not something that everybody can do. I mean, when you take, if you took Klopp or you took Pepe and put them on a team at the bottom of the league, would they be as successful? I mean, it's not for everybody. And, you know, because you run the danger when you're at the bottom and you're losing of not just losing games, but losing your credibility, your reputation, losing the faith of the players, losing the faith of the supporters or fans or parents or whatever. You know, and it's a tough thing. It's basically belief without evidence, right? It's believing in what you're doing is right, regardless of what the scoreboard says. And there's coaches out there who are watching this show between here who that will resonate with them. And I just got to tell you, continue to do what you're doing. Even if you're losing games, if you know you're preaching the right things, if you know that your culture's right, ignore the scoreboard. Have faith in what you do. And let me tell you something about faith. Faith doesn't exist unless it's tested. It's not really faith. It's easy to believe in things when everything's going all right, but your faith is going to be tested during the hard times. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had this year I took over a team at Bard College. It's a D3 program after I've been coaching D1 for the last 21 years. And we had, on paper, the worst record I've ever had in anything. Bowling, ping pong, anything I've ever done, even recreationally, okay? The worst on paper record. I had one of the best coaching experiences of my life.
We, one season, but I think this was 20 years ago, my assistant at the time was a guy called Dan Gasper. And I'm sure you know Dan. He's absolutely
world-renowned.
One of the most successful international coach, American coaches, went and coached internationally. He coached Iran in the World Cup, Portugal in the World Cup. He was the assistant to Carlos Queiroz, and he worked with Ronaldo, you know, and he's just been all around the world. Grand Passé, New York Metro Stars, phenomenal coach. He was my assistant. Now, I'll tell you something talk about planning earlier on. Danny was meticulous, is meticulous in his planning. He would come every single day, diagrams. I mean, you put the pennies. He was just total pro. We won one game that year. It was the last game of the season, and I feel it was the best I've ever coached that season. We put more planning, more work, more preparation into that season than any season I've ever coached had as a coach, and we won one game. And it was the last game of the season. We're playing Quinnipiac, and Quinnipiac got a man sent off, so they got 10 men, and we scored. And it was like we won the World Cup. You should have seen the celebration at the end of the game. It was like we won the World Cup. But Yeah, I mean, it's a whole area that I love talking about. Is everybody writes books about how to be a champion, how to be number one. There can only be number one, right? So everybody else, to a certain degree, are losers, right?
Right.
And but when it's down at the bottom of the league, what are the skill set? What are the techniques and you use to survive and thrive when you're challenged in that?
So can I, if I could offer a little insight from the coaching courses, I also taught sports psychology at LIU as well,
Yeah.
and future coaches that I'm training, all sports, not just football. And one of the things we talk about is when you have a match, what does somebody ask you after the match right away? What do they always ask you?
After the game?
Yeah, where they always, like, you see a stranger and you had a game, where they ask you after.
Oh, did you win?
Did you win, right? They always ask you to win. They don't give a damn about the game. They just want if you win, right? I never ask that question. My question is, how did you play?
Yeah.
How did you do? And
Yeah.
the answer people give to me is, we won or we lost. And I go back and go, I don't care if you won or lost.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you about that.
It starts with the parents too. That's the first question the parents ask you when you get home. Did you win today?
Well, as leaders,
Yeah.
as mentors, and you have thousands of leaders. I think they're probably watching this. It's our responsibility to frame the conversation.
Yeah.
So I never ask, never, and I have for decades, if you won or you lost. And again, I've won championships. And people ask, I never ask that question, because I ask how you, and now when I ask a coach that question, or a player, they start thinking, well, you know what? Yeah, we lost, but I actually played pretty well. Or I worked my buttocks off. But you know what? Sean Green was better than I was. You know what?
Yeah.
And
well, you know what? In America, we give trophies away for nothing. Every kid gets a trophy at the end of the season. What's your thoughts on that?
It's unnecessary. It's extrinsic, intrinsic rewards. Those are the two rewards. Lifelong rewards, intrinsic or everlasting. Intrinsic, playing for the love of the game, appreciating what I'm doing, feeling good about what I'm doing. If you play for trophies, trophies disappear. I have one trophy here in my apartment. I have one ton of trophies. The trophy I have, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
It's an American football trophy. I was a quarterback as a young boy. The only reason I have that trophy, Sean, is to remind me that I'm good at other things in my life.
Yeah.
That I have other skills. I'm not just defined by one thing in my life, as I have balance in my life. Are you tracking with me?
Yeah.
So it's important having those narratives and those conversations with the people that they're mentoring, the coaches mentoring the players, is they're getting to know their players in a meaningful way, in a deeper way, and building a meaningful relationship with them. That's everlasting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll tell you two quick stories about Long Island University, LIU. When we played LIU, okay, because for 20 years, we crossed swords, right? We went at it backwards and forwards for 20 years. And for, I would say, for a long time, we were just peers, coaching peers. We'd shake our hands, say hi before the game, and after the game, most of the times, right? We shake hands. After some of the games, maybe not. But, I mean, through thick and thin, we were there. But I remember when I had suffered, in 2016, I suffered a heart attack, and I went in and got a stent put in, right? I was in hospital for a week. We're playing you on Sunday. I get out of hospital on Saturday night.
I remember.
Okay? So I traveled down with the team, and we're playing you. You had a phenomenal team. You didn't just win the league. You dominated the league, okay? You were, like, hands down, like, miles better than everybody else. Your team was phenomenal. So we went out there, and it was my first day back coaching after suffering a heart attack. And we expected a tight game, and we went out there, and we went 1-0 up after like 3 minutes. It was phenomenal. We were up 1-0. Guys are going psyched up. We ended up getting beat 7-1. Okay, I think it was 6 or 7-1. You spanked us, and then players went in the locker room. I was the last one in. I was trailing behind a bit. I think talk with you after the game, and I got there like 5 minutes after the guys got in there. And I opened the locker room door, and everybody's head is down. They're just gutted down. And I walked in, I says, hey, pick your heads up, What why your head's down? I said, let me tell you, we just got spanked 7-1, and that was the best day of my week.
Wow.
It's just perspective, isn't it? When you go from a heart attack to losing 7-1, losing 7-1's nothing. It's keeping the perspective on things, you know?
You give me chills just describing that story.
And the other time, I don't know if you were coaching then, TJ, because this was like a long, long time ago. I don't think you were the coach. I think Arnie Ramirez was the coach then.
Okay.
So we're up 1-0, right? There's like 30 seconds on the clock. We had committed forward, and it was a breakaway. We were so undisciplined. We had only one player at the back at the halfway line, right? And it was right beside our bench.
Okay.
And the ball got kicked out to one of your players. It was out wide, and was put his foot on the ball, right? And he was going to take a quick free kick, right? And you had a winger coming flying down. We were all committed forward. It would have easily been a one-on-one with the keeper. So at the halfway line, ball's on the ground. Your player puts his hand on the ball, takes 3 steps back. He's ready to send the ball through. And I seen what he was going to do. And I was only like 5 yards away on the bench. So as soon as he put the ball down, I ran on the field and I booted the ball as.
You did.
I booted the ball as far as I could, knowing now. It's like I'm gonna get a yellow card or a red card, but we're not losing this game. I booted it, and by the time they took the free kick, we got everybody back, and we ended up winning one. We ended up winning. I think it was Arnie. He went absolutely berserk,
Did you get the result?
We got the result 1-0.
Got the result. Amen. Amen.
My first year when I coached at college, I was the youngest coach. I think I was 24. I was the youngest Division I coach in the country. And I think it was the second game of the season. Mm-hmm. And we were getting beat, I think, 3-0 at halftime, Mm-hmm. And I told the players, I said, this is bullshit. The standards are unacceptable. I said, I'm going home. So I went home and had a few beers. I left at halftime. Next day, when I get in my office, there's a note on my desk from my boss, come and see me. So I went to see him. He says, look, he says, what happened? I says, I went home. I said, I'm not going to be associated with that crap, He says, look, do me a favor, son. He says, stay the whole game next time, will you? It's like, what I think about it. I just packed my bags and left. Yeah, screw you. I'm going home. I'm not going to watch this crap. It was unbelievable. But, you learn as you. Yeah. It's amazing this cycle as a coach, how you just. I changed tremendously over my career. How have you changed as a coach?
I listen more. More. I think that's the biggest piece is that, I thought I had all the answers. I really did. When I was early on, I was like, oh, I had my licenses. I have the A license. I have the Premier. I have all the licenses, and I have all this knowledge. So let me talk and you listen. And I realized the older I get, there's more questions I have than answers. And I actually want to learn from you, and I want to learn from you as a player, what you're thinking to make sure what I'm doing makes sense too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's the biggest thing is that, I have my basis of drills and stuff that you have is gold.
Yeah.
Especially for new coaches, young coaches, for repertoire. And I have my basis of things that I do in terms of training, but I actually play more now. It's more about the game as a teacher in a lesson. So I ask questions. I don't do a lot of talking. I don't stop a lot, destroy the flow. I let the flow happen. And then when to be made, I stop and I ask questions. So yeah, that's a big change.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot, TJ. Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a coach are you? Oof. How would you grade yourself? You see the great things in everybody, but how do you grade yourself?
First, I'll say this: my second year coaching, I thought it was a 9.
Yeah.
I was NGIT. I come in, we win, we turn around the program. Coach of the year. I lose 2 players: my center half and my goalkeeper. Center half was a baseball, soccer player, right? Goalkeeper was pretty good. We have everybody back. We're going to win the league. losing season the next year. Losing season. I realized the two guys that graduated, you know what they were? They were leaders. They were leaders.
Yeah.
They had
Can't
integrity.
replace those.
They had integrity. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. They had integrity. They had character. They followed them. They did the right things, and the team fell apart. And here I thought I was, you know. So
Okay.
I started.
Give me a number. Give me a number.
I don't have no
I want a number. I'm not leaving this Zoom until you give me a number.
7. I don't know. I'm a 7.
I'd give you a 10, TJ. I really would. I'd give you a 10. Scale of 1 to 10. Okay? Just give me a number. How good of a father are you?
I strive to be a 10. I strive to be a 10.
How about a neighbor? Are you a good neighbor? Do you know your neighbors? I don't even know my neighbors next door. It's totally different environment.
You know my neighbors? Ready?
Yeah.
Susie, John Michael, Kim, Alan, Stephanie, Deirdre,
Wow.
Ed, Maryland, Sophie.
Wow. So you got two.
I know all my neighbors.
You got two daughters, Caroline and Kate?
Yeah.
One of them's in college, or both in college?
Yeah, Caroline's finishing right now in Gettysburg College, my youngest, and Kate is works in Savannah School of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. She's an admissions officer there. Yeah.
You're from a big family?
No, my sister and I. That was it. My sister's a little older than me, so it was my parents, my sister, and I. So not a big family. No.
I come from a family of 10. Yeah. I guess we didn't have my mom and dad didn't have a TV when they were growing up, so they had nothing better else to do.
What were they doing, I wonder?
Well, my mom was Irish, so you know the Irish,
I do know the Irish.
Well, back in the day, that was common known that in the street I lived in, they were all big families. Back in the day, there'd be family across the street had like 15 people in the family, all living in one house. It's not so common now, is it?
No, not at all. What a fortunate way to grow up. Yeah, basically you had a football team there almost with 1 cent off.
Hell yeah. It was, you know what, when we got new clothes, it wasn't new clothes. You just got your older brother's clothes, handed down to you. It was rough. I lived in a rough neighborhood when I was a kid, but those lessons, that keeps me humble. We're talking about your experiences in life, how that stays with you. 3 years in a ship, 3 years I worked in a huge shipyard, a big factory, building oil tankers. I did an apprenticeship there. Lived in a really tough neighborhood, which toughened me up. And I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of everything that everybody does for me, or I'm appreciative for the people in my life. And it's because of that background, I think, that that makes me so appreciative as a person. So we're going to have a little bit of fun now. Okay, so.
Oh, because this is not fun at all.
Here we go.
It's about time we have fun.
About time we lighten it up a little bit. Hey, I'll tell you a quick joke if you'd like, but hey, there's this woman, right?
Your jokes. Okay. I'm laughing already. Whatever you say is funny. Go.
There's this woman. She says to her husband, "Hey, Fred, there's a guy knocking on the door with a beard." And the husband says, "No wonder I didn't hear him." He's knocking on the door with a beard.
Who writes your material, Nicole?
Hey, she's got some good jokes.
I think Nicole writes your material.
So here we go. What conspiracy theory do you believe in, if any?
What is it? I don't even know what that means.
Any? Well,
what is that?
Who killed JFK? Did we actually go to the moon? Is there aliens? I mean, is there any conspiracy theory that you believe in? Oh, I'm a big conspiracy theory buff.
Are you? I don't.
I actually read the Warren Commission. You know what the Warren Commission is?
Yes, with that was JFK being shot, right?
JFK, like volumes. I read the entire thing. I was like a JFK buff, and in fact, I went to Dealey Plaza in Texas.
Oh my!
Went to the school book depository, did the tour there. Went to Jack Ruby's apartment, his house, did a bus tour.
You did all this?
I did, yeah. Oh, it fascinated me. It fascinated me.
I don't have one. So what's your conclusion with this conspiracy? Was there a conspiracy?
Yeah, no, I think it was a mafia. I think that's my opinion. I thought Nobody knows, but I thought it was a mafia.
The
I
mafia.
definitely think it was more than one shooter, though.
Gotcha.
I mean, okay, so you got no conspiracy theories.
Somebody's trying to keep my hair from growing. I don't know what the conspiracy is. I used to have a really nice head of hair, but it's been gone for decades. So
I'm the only guy in the world now who still uses a hairdryer.
yeah, I know. You have unbelievable hair. That's
you know, back in the 70s, man, you'd be in a locker room with a team. Every player had a hairdryer. You know, they're drying the hair. I'm the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So, celebrity crush.
Ooh.
If you had to have a crush on one celebrity.
Ready?
Yeah.
Halle Berry.
Oh, good one.
Thank you very much. Ooh,
Yeah.
just having
mine is Meg Ryan. So Meg Ryan, and she's from Connecticut. She lives in Connecticut.
Well,
I live.
Maybe Meg Ryan, Halle Berry. Somebody could introduce us to the two.
Yeah, that's it. We'll go out to town, right? Me and you, we'll go on a double date.
We're on.
So listen, Meg Ryan, if you're out there, I'm gonna leave my digits. DM me, will you? Okay, Halle
Berry for me. Yeah. And I'll listen. I'll be a good listener too. I promise. I will.
Do you have a bucket list, TJ?
I would like to do one thing. Yeah. What I'd like to do is I've done some volunteer work in Ukraine. That's my background. I think you know that. We might have chatted a little bit about that in the past. My grandparents emigrated. They escaped during World War II. They were refugees in a DP camp from Stalin. And I've gone back a couple of times in Western Ukraine in a village there, and for about 2 weeks. And I've done my leadership training actually in Ukraine, and also vision training, the soccer training I do. So I'd like to, at some point in my life, go back there for a year or 2 years, and that's on my bucket list. And my daughters are encouraging me to do that, which is really wonderful. So I plan on doing that someday.
Traveling is the greatest educator, isn't it?
Yes.
Learn everything, geography, sociology. You know, you learn about finances, you learn about cultures, food, everything. It's the greatest thing. And you know, I love traveling. My favorite spot to go is Barbados.
I've been there. I know you go there a lot. I love that place too.
I love it down there, St. Lawrence Gap. Where did you go to Barbados when you? Well, yes, where you were at Bridgetown, or
what was it called?
Did you go to Bridgetown?
I think it was Bridgetown. I was only there for 72 hours when the U.S. played. I just happened to go when the U.S. played Barbados in their World Cup qualifier, the second round, when I was there, and we just barely squeezed by them 1-0 in that match. But what a phenomenal place! The people are wonderful.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen as a coach in a soccer field?
The craziest thing I've ever seen as a coach. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Probably a goalkeeper hanging on the goalpost like an idiot, behaving like an idiot when we were taking PKs and freaking out our team. And it worked. And he didn't get sent off. He was just hanging like a monkey, like crazy. And we ended up.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember when I was a kid, when I was playing for a pub team. I was about 19, and it's one of these setups where they have like 30 fields, right? Grass fields in England, and they normally have like a big shed in the middle of the field, changing rooms,
Yes.
So we're playing this game, and I used to like to try and nutmeg guys, older guys, we were just young kids playing for a pub team, and those guys 35, 40 playing. So me and my friend used to see how many times we could nutmeg people, So I nutmegged this guy twice. And after I nutmegged him the second time, he says, "You do that one more time and I'm going to break your effing leg." And he wasn't joking, right? I mean, these guys were serious. So I said to my mate, he didn't know that he told me that, I said that to me. So I said to my friend, I said, "See if you can nutmeg number 8, So about 10 minutes later, my friend nutmegs him. I swear to God, the guy loses it. He runs after my friend, and he thought he was joking at first, but he wasn't. He ran 20 yards, getting close, and my friend started running. And he just kept on running off the field. And they ended up running around the shed. The guy chased him around the shed, wouldn't stop chasing him around the shed. The whole game had stopped, and everybody's just pissing their pants laughing. And we brought subs on and just continued the game, and they must have chased around that shed for like 15 minutes. It was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen.
Can I share one more story before you go on to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I played in a match in over a friendly sponsorship match in Florida, Soccer Industry Council back in the day when I was involved with Soccer Start, the National Inner City Soccer Program. And the opposing group was the old Tampa Bay Rowdies. Rodney Marsh played.
Brilliant player. I love Rodney
So I
Marsh.
play against Rodney Marsh, right? So I have the ball, and Rodney's coming at me, right?
Yeah.
And he's coming like he's going to win the ball. And I sidestep him. He goes by me, and the bridge of his nose catches my hand. It breaks his nose. I hear it crack, right? And I'm on the ball, and he's on the ground, and all everybody's like, "Oh, Rodney, yeah, you're making me." And he's rolling on the ground, and I'm like, "I broke Rodney Marsh's nose. I broke Rodney Marsh's nose."
Oh, wow.
He runs off the pitch. They get him off the pitch, and the game's going on. 5 minutes later, he's back on the pitch. They fix his nose.
Oh, God.
Older Rodney Marsh coming back and playing. So anyway.
I played soccer with Rod Stewart once. When the Scottish national team came to play the US national team here in New Britain, Mass. They played at Willowbrook Stadium. And I was designated a host for the Scottish national team, and they trained at us at our field for the whole week. And on the last day, Rod Stewart came because he was doing a concert at Madison Square Gardens. But he's a soccer fanatic. He's always kicking soccer balls out in his concerts. Always. So I had to meet Rod Stewart. There was nobody there, but just me and my assistant. And a big limo pulls up, right? Drives right in the field behind the goal. Out pops Rod Stewart. I said, "Good morning, Rob." Shake his hands. And as the team's not here yet, they'll probably be in about 20 minutes. So I got in goal, and Rod Stewart's taking shots at me for like 20 minutes. And I sent crossing the ball. He could finish a shot too. It was great. Ended up getting his jersey that he wore. He actually made a video with the Scottish national team that day to raise money for the kids in the Dunblane massacre. So next question. Pick one thing. I know it's difficult because you've learned so much, but what do you think is, if you were to talk about just one thing, what is the one thing that is the most important lesson that you have learned in your life?
The most important lesson I learned about life is to have a purpose, is to find your purpose. Discover what your purpose is. And purpose changes. What your purpose may be when you're 22 years old can perhaps change. When I was 22, 25, I had a purpose of playing football and trying to be a pro, and wasn't good enough. And it changed, and then becoming a football coach, becoming a father, first a husband and a father. And my discovery in the last several years is my purpose in life was to help other people find their purpose in life. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've discovered in my journey is to make sure it's my own purpose and not someone else defining that purpose for me.
What moment in your life, if you could, hypothetically, what moment in your life would you love to relive?
Oh my gosh, you're giving me chills. Again, Sean. Mentioned to you about when I was 12 with the eye. Well, when I was 13, after they saved my eye, my grandfather sat me down once, and he looks at me and he says, "Someday you're going to be the president." And I laughed. I was like, "You laughed." And then he leaned in real close again. The second time he said, "No, someday you're going to be the president." And I didn't laugh the second time. Like I got it. Like there was something that he saw in me. And my grandfather was the secretary to the president of Ukraine in 1918.
Wow.
Okay. He then became a minister, and he started 5 parishes in America. So I looked up to him. If I could relive a moment, Sean, if I can go back to when I was 13 and have that conversation with my grandfather and ask him what you see in me and what you believe in me in this lens of my life would be priceless.
Wow. I took a one-day course. It was on mental wellness. and it's like being certified as a first aid, but it was for mental health. It's called mental health responders, and it teaches you how to help people who have mental issues. And the woman said, how many people do you need in your life to love you? And some people put their hands up, 3, 5. She says, no, you just need one. You just need one person in their life to love you, to change your life around. And on the converse, if you've got the wrong person in your life, it can ruin your life, But it is just one person. So listen, there's probably a lot of young coaches watching this around the world. And what advice would you give to a young coach, or maybe an older coach, who really wants to get into this business full time? I mean, both you and I have lived our whole lives as full-time soccer coaches. What advice would you give a coach who aspires to get into this full-time, make it their full-time living? What advice would you give?
Well, it depends on what level and where they want to enter the game. So that's the first part. If it's on the youth level, it's about carving time. We talked about time earlier in our conversation here. Is how are you taking your time, and how are you scheduling? How are you planning things out? So making sure that, if your purpose right now is to become full-time, is to get involved in the game, is how are you carving time within your regular work day, because other folks have other jobs, they're going to put food on the table, and making sure you're devoting that time. Are you getting up in the morning? Are you get up early? Get up early, it's before everyone else, and devote time into connecting with people in the coaching field, learning more, and how can you transfer what you're learning? How can you go out and start training? Whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a part-time trainer, doesn't matter. I've had volunteer coaches who've had the same thing that have joined our staff that have gone on to be full-time, very successful coaches. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of building that piece into what you're doing and having a plan of action and connecting with people in the field in a meaningful way, because we're all about connecting and helping. And a lot of us are like that in mentorship, and finding the right mentor, and then believing yourself, believing. And if I could share a story once we wrap
sure.
the last story for your coaches at the end. Can I?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to cut short our thing, but at the last piece of the leadership training, and there's 10 other qualities, but that's a whole workshop, is I start with integrity and ethics, and I finish with confidence and belief. And the story that I share in the workshop is about believing in yourself. And I talk about gratitude and happiness and gratefulness, all that. And there's a starfish story, and this is my version of the starfish story. A man was walking along the sea in the South Pacific, and it was hot. It was scorching hot. It was so hot, the bottom of his feet were burning, and he had to walk over into the water and cool off his feet. And he's walking along, he looks over and he sees all these starfish had washed ashore, and they're drying and they're dying, covering the whole beach. He keeps on walking, he looks up ahead, and he sees there's a man taking one starfish at a time and throwing him in the water. And he approaches, he gets close, he says, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And the guy looks and says, I'm saving the starfish. He says, "Are you crazy? There's thousands of starfish here. You're not going to make a difference." With that, the man goes out on the sand, picks up the biggest starfish he can, and wades waist high in his water, and he leans back, and with all his might, he tosses the starfish, and he watches until it disappears in the sea. And he turns and says, "I just made a difference with that one."
Yeah, it's great.
All you have to do, and all we have to do, is make a difference with one player, with one coach. That's all we have to do. And then the ripple effect will happen from there.
You give me goosebumps. Hey, we can talk all day, and we do. When we get you guys who are watching this, people watching this, when we get talking, I'll call TJ at night. Recently, during this pandemic, it's normally after about 3 glasses of wine anyway, and it's so I'll call him up. Some of the conversations we have, it's like this. This is it. This is me and him on the phone every time we talk.
Yes.
And, but I'll get on the phone with the intention of talking for 2 or 3 minutes, but we end up talking for an hour, 45 minutes, and it just goes on and on. Well, listen, TJ, listen, it's just absolutely, you're a gold mine, a wealth of information. You definitely are one of the most inspirational people I've met in my life. I want to thank you again for coming on my show here and sharing your wisdom with our viewers. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. Absolutely amazing.
I'm very grateful for you. Thank you for having me on and for sharing the message. And I love you, Sean Green.
I love you too, TJ. And listen, for my audience out there who's watching Soccer Coach TV, God, you please be safe. And I never take it for granted that you take your time to go to the YouTube channel on Facebook and check Soccer Coach TV out. It's just phenomenal, the emails that I get from coaches and players all over the world. And I'll be inviting different soccer coaches who subscribe to my channel and soccer players to share their story. When I started to do these interviews, TJ, I was thinking about who can I get on the show, what celebrity can I get, what name, and I said, screw that. The most important people to me are the people who follow me, the people who take interest in what I'm doing, and I'm going to be interested in what they're doing. And if I already had dozens of people reach out to me who want to tell their story, and it's what interests me. As I said, there's 7.6 billion people on this planet, and every single one knows something that we don't.
Yes.
And I'd love to find out what it is. I'd talk to this 7.6 billion if I could. But to my viewers, to my subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Please share this video with some friends. TJ, if an organization, say a youth soccer club, want to utilize your talents and bring you in as a motivational speaker, life speaker, or a corporation or an institution, academic institution, any sport, football, basketball, you name it, how can they get a hold of you?
So they could email me at TJ, 2 letters, no periods, at TJKostecki.com. So TJ at TJKostecky.com.
Right. Awesome.
Or Vision Training for Life. Find my website, visiontrainingforlife.com, and they could find me.
All right, TJ. Peace. I love you, and you be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.